Do you remember that creepy animated mystery show about those teens that solved mysteries together? You know, Martin Mystery? Hello, my cute and creepy friends. Today, to make up for the sights and the sounds of the previous video, I thought today we could discuss something else from the past. But this time, I thought I would take us down a less nightmare fuel path. I swear, hardly no one watched this show, or everyone has forgotten it, because I don't see anyone talking about it across all of the platforms. This show was cute. This show was spooky. I loved it. It was all of like my favorite things meshed into one. Honestly, the only other animated show I can think of that is me and a personality is Gravity Falls. Aww. Its intro is like, it's so good. My mom would hear that playing whenever she would like come into the living room and she'd be like, oh, Martin Mystery. So today I'm going to guilt trip you into reasons why you should watch Martin Mystery if you haven't already, because there are only 66 episodes and they're all on YouTube. They're all on there. But before we hop into the show, here are some fun little facts. Martin Mystery was actually based on an Italian comic by Alfredo Castelli. Castelli? I actually never really looked into the comic, but it looks really freaking fun. I love the art at first glance. The show was animated in Tokyo. It was then produced in Paris, and the English voice acting was then done in Toronto. So it was bopping around there. The main characters consist of Martin, Diana, and Java, who are undercover paranormal investigators who work at the Center. I know, they couldn't think of anything else more creative. Mom, who kind of like oversees everything, she's kind of the boss. She's the head honcho, and she's also a hottie, so there's that. And her name stands for something too. I can't remember. What does it stand for? Mystery Organization Manager. Really? And then we have the adorable little alien secretary named Billy, who rides around in a little saucer. Oh my God, he is so cute. His story arc is really, really cool. So, not saying anything more, but I think he's my favorite. Let's get into why you should watch it and the things that I freaking love about this show. First of all, the monsters are real. Unlike Scooby-Doo, and trust me, I love Scooby-Doo. Great show. Who doesn't love it? But I love that Martin Mystery, all the monsters are real. It's not a projector. It's not some guy in a frickin' mascot uniform. It's not a fan blowing up a frickin' sheet, which, by the way, that to me is more unbelievable. That was a frickin' sheet blowing in the wind? But anyway, so yes, a lot of the monsters are real, but there's also a great variety of monsters. There's also a lot of monsters that are connected to different lore from around the world or different cultures, and that's really cool. The show also has a plethora of spooky backdrops and settings. There's a carnival one, there's like a cool spooky like prep school, there's like Dracula's castle, there's a New Orleans one, they're in like the swamps of Louisiana, which I just got back from New Orleans from a trip in April, and oh my God, anyway, it just keeps it fun and fresh, and I don't know, every episode I was excited to see like where they would be going. The last thing I'm going to mention is that the show keeps that newness and freshness per episode, but it also has an overarching plot for the whole show. Origin stories like coming to light for different characters. I'm not going to give anything away, but it's really cool to see the storylines for the characters play out overall. So those are the reasons that I think that you should give Martin Mystery a watch. And if you are not convinced, we're gonna watch an episode together. My personal favorite, A Shriek from Beyond. My husband just brought me hot chocolate with Lucky Charms as the marshmallows. Yeah, I hit the jackpot. I know. The hot cocoa is perfect because it's a cold one. We are in Newfoundland. It is storming. We have these two fishermen. They're on the icy waters. It's lightning. It's snowing. Clearly not a fun situation. They're trying to keep their cool until the one fisherman turns and looks at his partner, who's now frozen in place. He's shaken. His eyes are wide. What's going on? And then we hear the shriek. As a silhouette of this statue standing before them is lit up in the lightning. What is it? Where did the shriek come from?
We're gonna have to frickin' find out.
We then cut to the academy where Diana and Martin attend, and Diana is talking with this professor, and he's talking to her about her good grades and like, oh my God, you're so smart. And then she notices a trail of cheerleaders walk by, and Martin is one of them. He's pretending to be a cheerleader so that he can get closer to women. I know it's creepy. It didn't age well. I'm sorry. But fortunately, we get to see Diana like put Martin in his place, as always, which is enjoyable. So then the group gets a call from the center. In every episode, the location of the center, the little portal, is in a different spot. So that's pretty fun. It can get a little weird. Mother greets them, gives them the 411 that their newest mission is in Newfoundland, where they will be investigating the sighting of a woman in ice. Sounds interesting. So they get to Newfoundland and they talk to the two fishermen that we saw in the intro. Yes, they're alive. I know. I was pleasantly surprised about that as well, because usually when you're watching something and you hear a scream and then it goes black, you just assume, right? But they're totally alive, and they explain to Diana that they heard the shriek, they saw a woman's face in ice, they couldn't steer the boat in time, and then they crashed. As they are talking with Diana, Martin is kind of exploring around in the caves nearby, and he comes upon this snow angel type statue. And they also find a feather next to it. So definitely getting like a bird vibe. The gang sends in the feather for Billy to do an analysis on to really see where it came from. And while they are waiting to hear back, they head into the small village to just kind of do some more investigating and like asking around. And as they're walking, they walk by this interesting tavern where a beautiful voice is heard singing from the outside. Martin and Jabba are instantly entranced and they walk in. Diana is a little confused as to why they're ignoring her and just walking in almost like they can't help themselves. This part I distinctly remember as a teenager because it freaked me out.
Broken heart like the sea.
So some of you maybe are able to guess what the theme, what the monster is of this episode. We got some fishermen, we got a shriek, and we have a winged creature. It's freaking sirens, baby. One of my favorite creatures. So while this place like starts to cave in from this siren's scream. Diana is able to activate Martin's watch, use a shield, and like save this entire tavern. Why doesn't Diana have a watch, Mom? So everyone regains their consciousness after that whole bar scene to go outside and see this frickin' dragon bird Pokemon in the air. While they're deciding how to catch this creature, frickin' Popeye comes out from nowhere and tells them all to leave her be.
Leave the creature be.
And you don't know what you're dealing with and all this stuff.
Stop meddling in things you don't understand. Stay away!
Billy shows up. He tells them that he has an analysis ready for them on this feather that they sent in. And he tells them that not only is the feather over 50 years old, but that it is a combo of human and bird DNA with traces of granite. So Martin is super smart and is like, granite? Well, what if we check out the granite cliffs right over there and maybe we'll find her? So they do. They get on Java's back, they climb up these freaking cliffs, and they go into the nearest cave where, lo and behold, there's the bar singer. That's what she could afford, is the granite cave.
Don't judge her.
So while they're like exploring this cave, Martin goes off and walks up to her while she's sleeping, and Diana and Java are like, meow, meow, whatever, like, sure, go ahead and wake up this predator. It's fine. But they themselves seem pretty distracted because Diana like is kicking around and she finds this locket with some old cutie patootie sailor looking guy in there. And it says Rolf, which Diana is all like, oh, that's the guy that our bird lady said earlier, which I didn't hear like at all, but I think it's this part. I didn't catch that at all. But anyway, apparently bird lady was yelling Rolf. Diana and Java are talking about this Rolf character, and meanwhile Martin is being a full-blown like predator and touching this girl while she's sleeping. And then this happens. Oh, hey girl, good morning. So girl is clearly pissed. I mean, she was sleeping, she was having a little snooze, and you touched her and woke her up. So she starts singing. Martin and Java immediately try to walk after her and they fall off a cliff. Once again, Diana saves them with Martin's watch. Again. So it is now when Diana realizes that her song is entrancing Martin and Java.
Wait a minute. You were brainwashed by the song!
No shit, Sherlock. Martin does some research on his watch on like half bird, half woman. Sirens originally were thought of as half bird, half woman, rather than the mermaid versions that we know of today. As they're discussing facts about sirens, they kind of talk more about this locket, and they kind of put two and two together and realize that those two sailors that Diana was talking with must have freed her when she was in her little ice sculpture. She was trapped in there, she did some singing, and they crashed into her and released her from this trap. But who put her in there? They're speculating Rolf, the guy from the locket. So they immediately head back into town to get more of their questions answered, but the town has been destroyed. Womp womp.
How are we supposed to find Rolf in all this rubble?
This way.
Okay, for being a caveman, Java, like, he seems to be like the lead detective on all this because he's been like discovering things left and right. They find Popeye hiding out in his cave, kind of murmuring things to himself, and he explains to them that 50 years ago, he was with the siren. They were a couple. They were a thing. until he got sick of her. And she swore to destroy him, so he froze her in a block of ice.
I froze her in a block of ice in my fishing vessel and left her on an iceberg.
So that makes sense as to why she wants to kill him.
So the siren isn't the monster. It's you!
Damn, Diana. So despite them sympathizing with the siren and her broken heart, clearly Rolf is a monster, they still need to stop her because she's on this frickin' rampage. So they use Rolf as bait and they tie him to the sail and they go on a little journey and they're hoping that she will instantly see him and be attracted to the boat and they can capture her. Rolf starts singing while he's tied to this sail, and not long after, she is literally evolving like a Pokemon because she gets more and more terrifying every time they show her. Martin is an expert at aiming harpoons and is able to shoot it at her and entrap her in this net. After she is captured, the center shows up not long after and puts her in this little capsule, and Mom is just all excited about getting to study the behaviors of a siren up close. And while Rolf is like a total pig, he at least apologizes to her, which that's nice.
I'm sorry I was so insensitive.
Whatever, bare minimum. And right before the show ends, Martin has to just get in one last pickup line because...
You know, I could totally help you get over this guy. Nice try, Martin.
Classic Martin. So that is A Shriek from Beyond. I love that episode. It's just one of the episodes that really just stuck up here. It's such a fun show. What do you guys think of Martin Mystery? Have you watched it? Are you a fan? What's your favorite episode, if so? And if not, what was one of your favorite shows growing up that you came home from school and you watched immediately? Let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for joining me as I share a little bit of something that I loved as a child and still love. Thank you so much for hanging out with me and going down spooky lane once again. If you love cute and creepy and spooky content, feel free to hit that subscribe button. You guys, June is approaching. And I don't know if you know what that means, but the Halloween community knows what that means. That means Halloween hunting. Code Orange is upon us. I love Halloween shopping. It's like my favorite time of year. And at home is usually the first place that you start seeing the Halloween popping in. So that's exciting to think about. But until then, more of these videos will be coming. I hope you enjoyed. And if you did, give me a little like button. And I will see all of you in my next video. Stay spooky.